When Jordan Howard first burst onto the scene as a 5th round pick who ended his rookie year 2nd in the NFL's rushing category, people were blown away. 1 year later, when Howard posted a further 1,100 yards after breaking records held by Forte and Payton, many accepted that they may have been wrong about Howard. But now, on the edge of free agency and a coaching change later, the Bears are reportedly shopping the 24-year-old who has 1 year left on his rookie deal and will cost them just $2 million to retain. Why? My name is Liam Jenkins, and this film room of sorts will take a look at what's happened to Jordan Howard and whether or not the Eagles should consider trading for him. Before we get into it though guys, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for all of the support, and make sure you're hitting that subscribe button if you're new around here. We want to build the biggest Philly sports community possible, and we need your help to do it. And also, if you want your daily fix of Philadelphia sports news, you can check out work from myself and all of our writers at phillysportsnetwork.com. If we take a closer look at Howard's 2018 campaign, it's not even close to disappointing. 935 yards by any stretch of the imagination is still an impressive feat. What's a little concerning though is that he only averaged 3.7 yards per carry, and one of the biggest differences from 2017 to 2018, despite the massive offensive shift, is his touches. They went down from 20 in year 1 to 18 in year 2 to 16.9 per game in year 3. What's even more interesting though is that he only faced boxes of 8+ defenders 14% of the time. Now that may sound like an even better statistic that he should be able to run through. However, all 3 of his breakaway 50-yard runs in 2017 came against situations where there was a single high safety and 10 defenders within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. In fact, he faced defenders in the box where there were 8 or more 43% of the time in 2017, which meant instead of getting to that second level and having one man to beat, there was a much more clustered environment to get through. But could such a bizarre change really impact his game? Howard's still the same running back, he's still bringing the same traits to the table. Is he a schematic misfit? And this is where the debate will come as to whether or not the Eagles should trade for him, because at the end of the day, the Matt Nagy system is still on that same daisy chain of Andy Reid systematics. Howard's never blown anyone away with agility or speed or sheer explosiveness. But at 6 foot, 224 pounds, what the Bears currently have is a physical runner that can't really get tackled by arm bars, and more than anything, actually understands how to be successful in this zonal rushing scheme. He's very anticipatory, has great vision and great patience, and what this means is that he's someone that can sit behind his blocks, wait for the crease to open, and then hit the gas and turn upfield. Now again, he's not the most agile in terms of turning the corner. He's not someone that's going to turn a nothing run into a something run, but if the opportunity is there, the ability to break away is second to none. Now this is a blessing and a curse, because when the sea is parted, when the offensive line perform adequately, Howard can be one of the most effective backs in the NFL. When the offensive line aren't that, when they don't provide that opportunity and it's on him to turn those nothings into somethings, that's when you're going to see that 5th rounder that doesn't quite have the versatile skill set to break free or turn off and make a tackle and miss. But is this what hurt him in 2018? And the answer is I genuinely don't think so. If we look at plays like this against the Vikings where he's able to follow his lead block and then drive into the open field, you can see that skill set is still there. Even here against the Arizona Cardinals, one of his weakest games, if he can get into an open space, Howard can be an absolute threat. Not only that, but he's worked on his pass catching during that 2018 offseason, and it was such a key area of focus, it was a real shame not to see anything come of it. But his ability to remain as a one-cut back, to read the situation, bounce the ball outside, and then find the open space is something that you still can't find from many backs reliably in the NFL today. Look at this play, it's a high snap, runs straight to the center, and that's purely intentional. That isn't just by design, that's something Howard is doing to buy his linemen time to sustain those blocks, to draw the defenders in, and then pull outside knowing there isn't going to be anyone remotely in the area. You'll see another example of it here. Again, Howard just waits for the cut to open and then darts inside, but he will follow that first line all the way until there is no more room left to run and then make his decision. That's a sign of a patient runner, of a strong-willed runner, and again, someone that understands this system, that will then go out to the left guard and pull back up through the center to make sure there is the maximum space for damage. If we're to ask the question what went wrong, it's difficult to pinpoint because nothing really did. Yes, there was a huge change in system, but that really did impact the offensive line more than many realise. Sure, Chicago's got a good front, but it's not the most athletic. And when you're having to pull guards and pull tackles and pull tight ends, use a lot of motion, a lot of misdirects, what you're doing is going to cause a massive repercussion along that offensive front, because now those guys are going to be tasked with more athletic assignments. And what we see is that Jordan Howard has to wait for those guys to cross his path or wait for those blocks to be picked up, and a lot of the time they weren't. I've not seen Jordan Howard have this many negative plays ever. I typically didn't associate him with the ball going backwards, but the amount of times he was swallowed up behind the line of scrimmage, in part because he's quite one-dimensional as a one-cut back where he has to go between the tackles, and in part because the offensive line was either displacing blocks too easily, not sustaining them, or just going to the wrong assignment. It was an absolute train wreck at times. Was Matt Nagy's system too creative in year one? Did they have the right pieces along the offensive line to fully utilize it in year one? I genuinely don't know, but Jordan Howard was a real victim of this change, I feel. It also didn't help that alongside him as a stablemate, you've got a much quicker, much zippier back in Tarik Cohen who can get out of situations like this where the whole line just collapses. Cohen was far more versatile, far more electric. You can get him the ball in the screen game, and even though Jordan Howard was still targeted, he had 27 targets, only 5 less than what we saw in 2017. It just wasn't enough because he didn't have that speed, that ability to create a play in open space. And what you get when you partner all of this together is someone where you don't quite have the offensive line ready to implement Jordan Howard's skill set. And this is why now we're seeing the Bears maybe ready to move on. At the end of the day, Howard is going to cost you $2 million, and if you can get another 1,000-yard season from a 24-year-old for $2 million, why wouldn't you keep him around? It's a really bizarre situation, and as a team looking to trade for Jordan Howard, you've got to ask yourself this: is there something else you're not aware of? Because all I'm seeing here is a bunch of blown up offensive line plays, a bunch of situations where Howard can't quite break away for those reasons, and more importantly, a back that's still producing statistically. From an Eagles perspective as well, Matt Nagy still runs, as aforementioned, an offense that's built around those Andy Reid principles. And if we're going to go on a limb, which I know is wrong here, and say that Jordan Howard isn't right for this scheme, then why would he be perfect in Philadelphia? Why would a team trade a 24-year-old running back in his contract year when he's producing at the rate he is? Why would they not milk that cow one more year, get one more season of production? To me, something doesn't sit right. So from a tradee perspective, when knowing nothing gets out in the media unless someone wants it to, I don't think there's a market for Howard as much as there is reported to be. I think that's why they're trying to drum it up. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles in this situation, it now becomes a scenario, what's the asking price? Because if you're looking at a 3rd round pick or above, which would be understandable given his level of production and his ability to pass protect, which we'll see very shortly, is that going to be worth it? Because for a 3rd round pick, you could get yourself another running back. There is a Jordan Howard in every draft class. There is a 4th, 5th round pick running back in every draft class who behind the right offensive line can be very productive. This year you've got guys who can be absolutely sensational in that situation. Whether it's a player like my draft crush Travion Williams, whether it's Devin Singletary, Damian Harris or Zigbo, there are so many running backs in those middle rounds that could provide just as much explosiveness behind a good quality offensive line, one the Eagles obviously have one of the best in the NFL, and for a much longer period. Yes, Jordan Howard is only going to cost you $2 million, but after that he's going to be a free agent. The Eagles have had 3 years of running back instability. From Ryan Matthews to Wendell Smallwood to Darren Sproles, it has been a constant struggle. Even Jay Ajayi with his injury history has not exactly given the serenity needed at the position. They need to build a strong committee, and a 1-year rental for a 3rd round pick. Why would the Eagles give that away when they could draft a replacement? They could draft someone of Jordan Howard's type skill set to bring him in and get 4 years out of it. It just doesn't make sense unless that draft pick is a 5th or 6th round, and I can't see the Bears willing to part ways with a running back that productive for that cheap. But let me know what you think, guys. Do you want the Eagles to trade for Jordan Howard? What has gone on with his game, and does he still have a long-term future in the NFL? Could the Eagles technically sign him to a longer-term deal, or would it make more sense to instead look at a free agent option like Tevin Coleman or potentially a drafted running back? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And from myself, Liam Jenkins, I will see you next time for another episode of Eagles Film Room.